Hi everyone, back to the more YouTube channel. It's Chris back with a rumour has it video where we're talking about players coming and going this summer transfer window. As you can probably see, I am in a mobile, but it isn't a rant mobile. It's a temporary rant mobile because I will not talk to you about the automotive problems I have had. It would be the king of all rants. Mark couldn't keep up with the F-bombs and would most likely get sued by at least one company. So let's stick to Newcastle, shall we? So what am I talking about today? Well, I'm talking about the apparent list of the 4 players that Newcastle are looking to move on this summer transfer window. Away the lads is what we've called this, and it shouldn't surprise anybody really, the list of players that are on here. So I'm going to go through this right now and just talk about the players individually and, you know, what the likelihood is of them probably going, and, you know, and maybe the target's going to come in as well. So let's start with the handsome devil himself, our number 9, Callum Wilson. Now, Callum Wilson as a player has been brilliant for Newcastle. Great goal record, second highest Premier League goal scorer behind Alan Shearer, who he's never going to catch, to be honest with you. He could play till he's 90 and probably not catch Alan Shearer, I think. But the problem Callum has had throughout his whole career, really, but definitely his Newcastle career, has been injuries. When fit, goal machine, no doubt about it. Really good centre forward. Would have been in the England team for the Euros, I'm 100% sure, had he been fit for the majority of the season. He was only fit, I think, for about 24 games or something last season. He still got 10 goals. So you can see the record is there. You know, he's great with his back to goal. He can turn a defender, can run in behind, and a great finisher, and a really charismatic, handsome bastard to boot as well. But 32 years old, and the injuries are just too much for Newcastle to take a gamble on. Alexander Isak is the main man. He's the number 1 centre forward. There's no doubt about that in my mind. He also had injury problems last year as well. But when you need somebody to come in and lighten the load and give Isak a rest, or come in and give you another option to make him play 2 up front, which worked really well at times with Isak and Wilson, Callum's fitness just cannot be relied on. So it doesn't surprise me that Newcastle are going to look to move him on. But I really think there's going to be a problem here, because this latest little setback of Callum Wilson, it might be nothing, it might be fuck all, it might just be a little simple operation on his back, but coming out and seeing that he's injured again even before he's kicked the ball and he's a doubt for the opening game against Southampton, I think will put potential suitors off Callum Wilson. There's loads of talk of West Ham. It'll be quite funny, him and Antonio could just do the podcast in each other's living room, I think, by the sound of it there. But I don't think West Ham or other clubs will be keen to take a gamble on Wilson for the cost that we probably want for him, given his injury record. And this latest injury, I think, will put teams off. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Callum still at the club for another year. Let's hope he can stay fit for a large portion of games, and then we can get goals out of him, maybe crucial goals to win games and everything else as well. But you know, I just don't think anyone's going to take a gamble on the bloke, you know, for the cost of a 1 and 4, even the Saudi League, just with his injury record. So I think we'll see Callum staying at the club, you know, and maybe Newcastle could look to bring in a young centre forward. It can be a striker that can learn off Wilson and Isak. But yeah, I see Wilson staying, so I just don't think anyone's going to take a gamble on buying that player. The next big name is Captain Fantastic Kieran Trippier. Now, this doesn't surprise me in the slightest, to be honest with you. Now, Kieran Trippier has been a sensational signing for Newcastle United, possibly one of the best signings of modern history. He transformed the mentality of this club. He didn't just, you know, start the takeover and be the first big sign of the takeover. His mentality, his leadership, his quality on the pitch and off the pitch was just raised levels of every player around him. And, you know, he's been such a brilliant servant for Newcastle United. And I just think, you know, he deserves nothing but respect. But last season, whatever the reason was, you know, people said personal reasons. I'm not going to get into that shit. I don't give that any air. But, you know, he did lose form, no doubt about it. He totally dropped off a cliff. First half of the season, he was still brilliant. Assists left, right and centre. Defensively sound. Second half of the season, atrocious. Massive mistakes in crucial games. I still look back at that Chelsea game and think, had he not fucked that up, we could have got the Carabao Cup final and possibly won that competition. You know, Liverpool played the kids that might not have done if we were in the final, but who knows, we may have won that competition and ended our long trophy drought. But Kieran Trippier has been brilliant for Newcastle, but the has been is the key word. I think 33 years old, still looked all right in the Euros, even though England weren't great. But I think get his wage off the books, you know, get a fee for him. We only paid 12 million for him. You might get that back. And I think the emergence of Tino Livramento definitely tells everybody that that's the future at right back. You know, outside of Tino, who's also had injury problems, you know, Kraft is a steady away player, but he doesn't pull up any trees. Harris Nashby's there. I don't know whether they'd look to bring in another right back, possibly if they do let Trippier go. But yeah, I'm happy with Tino being the #1 right back choice because I think he's a fantastic player. He showed he can play left back or right back, but right back's his key area, and I think he shows he should be the starting right back because we just can't rely on Kieran's, lack of pace that he's got. His positional sense was all over the place, in that key stage of last season. Yes, is still brilliant from dead balls, but even that though, even his set piece delivery was a bit shit at times. Sandro Tonali's coming back into the team, who's really good from set pieces. Anthony Gordon putting some unbelievable set pieces. Lewis Hall's got a wand of a left peg. So moving Trippier on would take him away from those set pieces too. Brilliant servant though, goes everybody's well wishes. But I could definitely see Kieran going now wherever he goes. I'm not sure. Obviously, his missus didn't particularly like it in Spain was the word, which is why he wanted to come home, but again, without adding fuel to the fire of those personal problems, maybe that's something for the Trippiers to sort out. There's been talk about Saudi links. That would be an easy one for him. Kieran would earn more money in a year than he probably does in 5 years in Europe, but that seems to be the reoccurring trend with Saudi now. We've seen it with Maxi. He was there for 1 year and now he's back at in Europe playing for Fenerbahce, I think it is. And I think that's going to happen to the Saudi League. A lot of these players who go there in their prime might only have 1 season and then go back into Europe. But I think with Trippier, he's probably only realistically got 1 or 2 seasons left in him. He could earn a king's ransom over in Saudi by doing it. Maybe 2 years there, maybe come back and be a coach. I'd love to have him back in Newcastle as a coach if he leaves as a player, because I just think he's a manager waiting to happen. He's a brilliant character. He speaks so well and articulately as well. So if he does go, he goes to our well wishers, and I'd love to see what he does in management. So moving on to the third player, Miguel Almiron. Now there's a defence splitter, isn't it? Not in a good way either, between the fan base. Now Miguel Almiron, I'd love to say he's been brilliant for Newcastle. He's had flashes of brilliance, is probably what I would say, but by and large he's been incredibly frustrating in a black and white shirt. He just makes basic errors. He's got all the pace in the world, all the determination. You can't doubt the lad's determination and drive to go forward and to get back, but in key areas he just fluffs his lines. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like a golfer who walks up to the green really well, but when he comes to swing the club, it flies out of his hand, takes somebody's fucking eye out. That's kind of what Miguel Almiron's like. He looks the part, but when it comes to the key moments, shit will get off the pot. He just fucks it up. I think about that 1 yard miss against AC Milan at St James's. Any other player with more quality would have buried that, and that game could have been different. Could have been at the knockout stages of the Champions League with the prestige and the financial boost that brings you. So yeah, Miggy's incredibly frustrating. I haven't got his stats to hand. Mark might pull it up as I'm chatting here with his editing skills, but his stats are atrocious for a winger, really. Outside of the purple patch season he had last season, they've been pretty dire. I think Kieran Trippier had more assists in half a season than Miggy had in about 4 or something like that. So I think Miguel Almiron's race is run with Newcastle United. I think it's time to go. We know we need to improve in that right wing area. There's talk about players like Chiesa who can play on the right wing, contrary to what some of these football manager wet wipes think. Can play on the right wing, can play on the left wing. But if you were to move Miguel Almiron on and say bring a player like Chiesa in for the quality that he would bring you, or an Mbembo or even a Pedro Neto, who, yes, I know has injury problems, but quality-wise is head and shoulders above Miggy. That whole position would be enhanced. Jacob Murphy's a steady squad player, but again, he's not going to pull up any trees. He's a brilliant character, but if you had a player like a Chiesa or a Neto or an Mbembo as your starting right winger, to me, that just increases the quality of that side of the pitch exponentially. And you've got Gordon and Barnes for the left-hand side as well. If there is any injuries, Gordon can swap over to the right, or a loss of form, Barnes can be on the left. Barnes, I think, will have a really good season for his next season. The injuries hampered him, but go back and look at what he did, in just a small cameo of a season. Harvey Barnes is a good player, and he'll show that to us again this season. With the likes of him, Sandro, and hopefully Willett coming back fit, they're 3 huge players. That could boost any transfer window, buying players into that quality and that ability. So we have to make sure that they're fit, and hopefully that's something that Mitchell and Buns can do coming in. But yeah, Miggy's done for me. He's got to go. Saudi are linked. That shows you the kind of quality of that. You've got to remember we bought him from the MLS. There's not many European clubs that are interested in this guy, because when it comes to key moments, he just doesn't deliver. And that's basically, if he was your postman, you'd never get your fucking mail. That's basically it. But he's done all right at parts of the club, but I don't prescribe to this this kind of sentimental, let's not slag Miggy off, he's brilliant, he scored our first goal in the Champions League in 20 odd years. So he's been piss poor for a long period of time, and you've got to be real as a football fan. If you want to move on and you want to finish in the top 4, you've got to buy better, and we have to do that. in Miguel Almiron's position. And the last player, Sean Longstaff. Now, this hurts me to say this because I think as a character, Sean's an awesome lad. He's a local lad. He just seems like such a top kid. Does lots of great stuff in the community off the pitch as well. You know, runs his arse off as a player. There's no doubt about that. He works his balls off. I call him Sean Longstaff. But again, similar to Miggy, in the key moments, he does seem to fluff his lines and he's wanting for a bit of quality. You know, Sean scored, I think it was 6 goals last season, so people tend to forget about that when they're slagging him off. But, you know, I think, unfortunately, in the fan base, a large part of the fan base, some of the knives are out for Sean. You saw the overreaction to one shit misplaced pass in the pre-season win against the German 3rd Division team. I'm not going to overreact to that. Any player could do that. Any player fucks up a basic pass from time to time. But because it's Sean, it's amplified within the fan base. Now, the thing with Sean is, if he stayed, I wouldn't be overly upset because I think he's a good squad player. I think he gives you legs, he gives you energy. He'll play in any position he can for the team, and and he also has that kind of Geordie heart as well, which I think helps new players settle in to understand the club and what it means and everything else. However, if we're talking about up in quality in Miguel Almiron, it would be totally unfair for me not to make the same analogy with Sean Longstaff. If you were to look at a player in Sean Longstaff's position and improve that quality, then to me, you got likes of Conor Gallagher, for example, that has been linked to the club. Eddie Howe likes Conor Gallagher. Now, don't get me wrong, Conor Gallagher's no fucking Steven Gerrard, right? But, he gives you what Sean gives you in terms of legs and energy going forward and tracking back, but he gives you more quality in the final third. I wouldn't pay a ridiculous amount of money for him. I wouldn't pay 60, 70 million quid, for Conor Gallagher if Chelsea want that and get in the fucking bin, because he's not worth that, really. But if someone like a Conor Gallagher was to come in to improve that position that Sean is occupying, you'd kind of understand that's an improvement in quality, and Sean would go, well wishes. You do a good job for a Premier League team, Sean, whoever it may be, whether it be Leicester or Forest or maybe even Brighton or Leeds or, in the Championship. I think it'll be a Premier League club that he goes to, but I really do think that Sean for me, I think potentially could be a player that has to move on, when the team's looking to up that quality. But we'll have to wait and see. Eddie likes him. I know he likes him. I think it would be really difficult for Eddie to lose 2 players in the shape of Wilson and Longstaff that he absolutely adores. Trippier as well with his character. That would be a big ask for Eddie. We talked about this in the video the other day about how the new hierarchy and Eddie are going to get along. Kind of disposing of some of his lieutenants, if you will, might be a real difficult thing for him to swallow. But we'll wait and see what happens. But that's the 4 players, guys. Let us know in the comments below what you think about those players moving on. Would you be sad to see them go? Do you think it's time to move them on? And who would you want to see come in to replace those players if they do go on? Let us know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, guys. Have a belter wherever you are. We'll be back with some more content soon. All the best. Cheers.